Today, we've got a brutally honest review of Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City and 3 new games for the Xbox Live Arcade.
Plus, we have a preview of the just-announced Disney Epic Mickey, The Power of Two, and blockbuster games that can be had for a fraction of the price. X-Play starts right now.
Hello and welcome to X-Play. I'm Adam Sessler.
Yeah, he is. And I'm Morgan Webb. If we killed an intern right now, would anyone notice?
Is that like one of those Buddhist questions where, like, we kill an intern in the forest, can we hear him scream?
You can hear him scream.
Yeah.
You can.
Buddha. Coming up on today's show, we'll have the latest on 3 new downloadable games for the 360. They're South Park, Fable, and Destruction. Then legendary game designer Warren Spector explains what's to come in Disney Epic Mickey, The Power of Two.
Plus, I'm going to help you score some great games that come with the X-Play stamp of approval, and they cost way less than $60. And later, I head to BioWare for a look at all of the changes that are coming in Star Wars: The Old Republic's 1.2 update.
But first, let's send it over to Blair Herter for some zombie action.
Thanks, guys. You remember when Resident Evil 5 came out? Everybody bitched that the controls were dated and that you should be able to move and shoot at the same time. There was whining about the online co-op, the quality of versus multiplayer. Well, Capcom listened and made a modern third-person shooter with all the trimmings. Are you happy? Well, here's our review of Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. Evil is back at its original mailing address. The newest game from Resident Evil moves the action back to its original setting, Raccoon City. But instead of struggling with slow-moving zombies in a survivor horror game, this time you take on the role of a member of the Umbrella Corporation's murder squad in a traditional third-person shooter.
You heard him. Let's move. Finally,
a game for aspiring Blackwater applicants. Besides, of course, that actual Blackwater game that came out. Operation Raccoon City is a study in contrasts. First, there is the up-close and personal attack of the zombies, ripping, biting, and infecting you. And then other humans in the game firing on you as you attempt to wipe their minds using your machine gun. The end result is a very active game, compelling the player to constantly switch tactics from hand-to-hand combat to cover-based firing. This high-adrenaline multitasking couldn't be more different than the creepy crawl of the older Resident Evil entries.
Aren't we on the same team?
The biggest problem in Operation Raccoon City are the controls. The firing and aiming can feel a bit loose at times, and the buttonless cover system can be especially frustrating when trying to dodge zombies in a dark room. Also worth noting is the fact that the action button also functions as a dive button. This often leads to a desperate player attempting to grab a health pack only to dive to the floor next to it and be swarmed by zombies. The best surprise about Operation Raccoon City has to be the multiplayer. The multiplayer game types are nothing new, but the inclusion of zombies in all of these modes levels up the game's fun factor by quite a bit. And the ability to carry over your level and equipment from the campaign to multiplayer is a great addition, as is the infection option that transforms you from your normal heartless merc to a zombie out for your teammate's neck. All in all, Operation Raccoon City is a fairly good game. The unwieldy controls are an annoyance, especially to anyone who has played tight third-person shooters, but the great multiplayer and the player versus zombie versus people combat style counters that to a degree. And while this is far from the best Resident Evil we've ever seen, it should be a must for any RE fans collection. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City gets 3.5
Here they come.
out of 5.
I thought my neighborhood was sketchy at times, but I think I'd rather live there than Raccoon City.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Now,
Yeah.
fictional video game towns are hazardous to your health, and
Yep.
we're counting down the top 5 most unsafe cities in today's X list.
Coming in at number 5 is SimCity. The roads often lead to nowhere, disaster strikes at a moment's notice, and the person who's running things is often an idiot.
Number 4 is Rapture. You know, it's not that fun to live in an underwater city where everyone's crazy, wearing rabbit masks, and wanting to beat you to death with a wrench.
Coming in at number 3 is Silent Hill. If you're there, you're either losing your mind or you're dead. And the weather is always gloomy, which is really the worst.
Our number 2 pick is Liberty City. I can't imagine how much car insurance premiums run there, and if you're a pedestrian, you can kiss your ass goodbye.
If they get in my way, it's not going to work out well for them. But of course, the number 1 unsafe video game city is Raccoon City. Could it be anything else? I can deal with a homeowners association, but a BOW, hell no.
Well, just the sheer logic, like, let's name our city. Hey, Raccoon City, that sounds like a great idea because they're like nature's bandits.
They're pretty cute.
Microsoft's 2012 lineup for the Xbox Live Arcade couldn't be more diverse. For instance, you've got titles like Fable Heroes, which plays like Gauntlet or Castle Crashers.
Plus, there's a Boomblocks-styled Connect game about destruction and a new South Park adventure about the kid that Cartman tricked into eating his own parents. I love that episode.
With gas prices rising, there's never been a better time to stay at home and download games on the Xbox Live Arcade. We got a preview of 3 intriguing new titles coming out this year. First up is Fable Heroes. I'm happy to be joined by Ted Timmons, who I think is heading up the most surprising game here at the show, which is Fable Heroes. If you could describe what the game is, I think you'll do a better job than me.
So yeah, it's a hack and slash, 4 players on Xbox Live or offline. And the idea is basically, just have fun. Hack and slash all the creatures, you can smash up the little fences, and it's all about sort of earning gold.
Well, I gotta say, I'm very excited. When does the game come out?
It's gonna come out later this year, but before Fable the Journey. We don't have a set date yet.
We also got a look at the game based on one of our favorite TV franchises. South Park, Tenorman's Revenge is a side-scroller coming out this spring. It's been a very long time since we had a South Park game, probably because of the first South Park game we had from Acclaim. You have taken it far different. This is not a first-person shooter. This is a platformer.
Yes, it is a 4-player co-op online platformer where you play the 4 boys running around, chasing after Tenorman's stolen the boys' hard drive Xbox.
Where are the challenges going to be coming in this game?
Right, okay, so, well, besides just your friends griefing you and hitting you with baseball bats and crowbars and all that kind of crazy stuff, he created a ginger army. Basically, the soulless gingers have been incarnated into these robots.
Meanwhile, we got to look at a title that encourages players to get physical, Wreckateer. I'm happy to be joined by Dave Lang, and he's here showing Wreckateer. This game appeals to that 6-year-old side of me that really likes to destroy stuff. I mean, that really is the core of what this game is all about.
Yeah, it's like the kid in you that used to build up the blocks just to knock them over.
It's hard to describe the gameplay without using other titles as examples. Obviously, I was a fan of Boomblocks. I can see some of the relevance here. The game that many people are going to be thinking of, though, is Angry Birds.
Absolutely.
Was that an influence in any way?
Yeah, sure. The original pitch for this we had, it was Angry Birds meets Boomblocks with some Burnout Crash mode thrown in. Right?
Hey, at least you're open about your source material.
Hey, why hide it, right?
So far, the game seems like a lot of fun. It's hitting Xbox Live Arcade this summer.
Coming up on X-Play, Warren Spector reveals what's in store for Disney Epic Mickey The Power of Two, plus Morgan helps you score some cheap games. BioWare reveals what's changing in Star Wars The Old Republic. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to X-Play. We're big fans of Disney Epic Mickey, but it was unfortunate that the game's gorgeous visuals were constrained by the Wii's lack of graphical horsepower. That will not be a problem with the sequel called The Power of Two. It's coming to the Xbox 360 and PS3, and Blair got all the details from the man in charge, Warren Spector.
Disney Epic Mickey got a 5 out of 5 from X-Play. Now it's getting a 2 from Warren Spector and Junction Point Studios. Disney Epic Mickey 2 The Power of Two was just announced, and it's gonna make a lot of people very happy.
I think that the first thing people are really going to want to ask and hear from you about, it's multi-platform now.
Yeah, the most frequent request we got was, hey, let me play this game. It was pretty gratifying, actually. So we were Wii exclusive the first time around. This time we're going to be on all platforms. The number one request we got after, please let me play this game on my PS3 or Xbox 360 was, I want to play with my friends, I want to play with my family. So this time around, you can play in single player as Mickey Mouse, but there's always Oswald right there next to you. He's not an off-screen character anymore. He's a hero right alongside you, fully AI controlled. But another player can jump in at any time. It's drop-in, drop-out co-op. So another player can sit down on the couch next to you, pick up a controller, screen splits, and all of a sudden take control of Oswald.
Not only will you get to control Oswald, you'll get to hear Oswald for the first time in the history of Disney.
I certainly felt a sense of privilege. That's not an opportunity that comes along every day. And it's not just Oswald who speaks this time. Every character in the game speaks every line of dialogue.
And then possibly the biggest change to this franchise is the fact that not only are the characters speaking, but they're speaking in a very melodic manner.
I've always wanted to do a musical game. And so Disney Epic Mickey, The Power of Two, is the first musical comedy game ever.
This is your dream game, and so I know it's incredibly important to you. So what's the goal for you?
The goal for me in every game is for players to feel like they've had a unique experience. What I want people to walk away from this with is the idea that they've experienced the kind of emotional story that they get when they watch a Snow White or a Toy Story. Games can create experiences, or players actually can create experiences for themselves as they play that are as powerful and life-affecting as any book or movie or play. And I hope we've captured some of that in this game.
That game looks awesome. Coming up, Morgan will help you save some money on some great games so you can afford to do the important things in life, like eat and take care of your diabetes. Plus, find out what changes are coming to Star Wars: The Old Republic. We'll be right back.
The mobile game as first grade activity trend continues, moving from Words with Friends to the new Draw Something for Android and iOS. This addictive time killer allows you to draw a word or phrase, or at least attempt to draw a word or phrase, and then ask a friend or randomly selected stranger to guess your drawing. Success means you get a chance to guess their interpretation. The program comes with a basic selection of colors and brushes, but upgrades are available as you level up. And while the iPad does give you a large canvas to work from, the game also runs on the iPhone and Android just as well. With 20 million downloads in its first 5 weeks, it's easy for us to heartily recommend Draw Something.
Sure, iPad games seem like a great deal when compared to paying $60 for a new console game, but if you shop smart and listen to me, which is the most important part, you will pick up some great titles and still have enough money to put a gallon of gas in your car. Just one, though. The economy is in the gutter, but that doesn't mean gamers don't still have needs. If you're light on lettuce, let XPlay save you from playing free Facebook games. Here are great titles for great prices. LA has a seedy underbelly and a seedy everything else. If you're looking for a unique experience, LA Noire is it. Cole Phelps is a straight-laced 1940s beat cop on his way up the ranks.
I'm Officer Cole Phelps. This is Officer Dunn.
Search for clues, write in your notepad, interrogate suspects, write in your notepad, and it's only $15 if you're of the PlayStation persuasion. That's enough to flip your wig. Largely overlooked, Split Second combines fast arcade gameplay with a slick design and apocalyptic environmental hazards. So get your afterburner on. Split Second is less than $14 on Amazon. While the entire internet is in an uproar over the ending of Mass Effect 3, why not dive into the Mass Effect that everyone loves, Mass Effect 2?
Make it worth my while.
Commander Shepard battles the Collectors and every other kind of scumbag to save the universe. Inventive characters, solid combat, and a Dirty Dozen-style story written by the best in the business add up to the best deal ever for your 20 galactic credits. Portal 2 knocked our socks off. Valve must be staffed by wizards because they not only met our astronomical expectations for a Portal follow-up, they exceeded them. Portal 2 continues the elegant show-not-tell approach to gameplay and manages to expand the mythology of aperture science in hilarious ways.
Ah! Oh, God. You look good. Looking good, actually.
I heart Wheatley. Portal 2 can now be yours for $30. Cake costs extra. When discount games are this great, you'll never want to pay full price again.
Get your money back.
After the break, we've got some information that may change the way you live your life forever. And by life, I mean the character you've created in a popular MMO. Find out what's in store for Star Wars The Old Republic's next big update right after this. Welcome back. MMOs are constantly evolving and often barely resemble the game that launched. Developers are always tweaking, fixing problems, and adding new content. Case in point, Star Wars The Old Republic. BioWare's Epic is undergoing some changes, and Morgan went to their studio in Austin for all the details.
Star Wars The Old Republic is about to get even better. BioWare is upgrading SWTOR with Update 2, and it's stuffed with more content than a tauntaun. Okay, so I think the first question everybody out there is going to ask is are they going to nerf my class?
Which one's your class?
I want to say.
When we find out what your class is, we will nerf it. That is...
No!
There are obviously adjustments that go on all the time. A lot of it is in response to the basic math. I don't expect anything that will upset you coming in.
So tell me about some of the extra content you guys are offering.
So 1.2 brings a new endgame operation on the planet of Nova. It's super incredibly complicated as far as boss fights, using the environment. It's a great, beautiful place. It's on an entirely new planet. It's actually the same planet, but we're also doing a new war zone. The war zone is both faction versus faction and same versus same. And the big piece of content for everybody is the legacy system.
So what is the legacy system and how is it expanding?
And one that everybody notices, now you can take and unlock every species for every class. So if you finish playing like a pureblood Sith, now you can go and make a pureblood anywhere. So I've got a pureblood smuggler. And because my pureblood dad was a Sith warrior, my smuggler can now force choke people. Right? And then you can combine those. So now my smuggler has a Jedi Consular kid, and the Jedi Consular kid is also a pureblood, except they can run around kicking people in the crotch. And that stuff's super fun.
Let's talk about what else you're putting in this patch. There's some guild stuff, which I'm personally very excited about.
Guild Banks was a huge, huge undertaking. We introduced a Guild Bank that fixed any and all the problems that we had ever had dealing with guild banks. So not only do you have multiple tabs, you can assign totally different structures to all the multiple tabs. You can decide who's got permissions for them.
Is it self-cleaning? We always have problems with just people putting other crap in there, and I'm the one who has to clean it.
Wow, really? Guild janitor, huh?
Well, yes.
Is there an official title for that in your guild?
They called me Vault Queen. You'll be able to start cleaning your own guild banks and leaving your legacy when Update 2 hits SWTOR this April.
All right, we're going to start this conversation with this. People like to talk on the internet. That
Yes.
said, a lot of people on the internet said the Old Republic was doomed from the start. But now the game's been out in the wild for a few months, and it's really not the case. Actually, the exact opposite of that.
The exact opposite. They're doing very well. They have 1.7 million players. And people have said, well, that's not as much as WoW. And I'm like, WoW's been out there for a long time, and they didn't have like 10 million players day one. So.
And keep in mind that this was an MMO also released during the same time as tiny little games like Skyrim and Assassin's Creed. So people committed their entire Christmas holiday really to playing this game. As you said, 1.7 million subscribers. I think it's safe to say this is here to stay.
SWTOR is definitely here to stay. I know people had been predicting, oh, it's going to be free to play immediately. I don't see any indication it's going to be free to play. However, will also say that the game is very high quality. If you like MMOs, I think you'll probably like checking it out.
Yeah, and even if you don't like MMOs and are just into Star Wars, the story is incredible. I mean, it really is a fun experience. And one of the things people are finally getting a chance to see, especially like Morgan and I spend a lot of time playing, we have some high-level characters. The Legacy XP system that we've been collecting since the launch.
It's actually going to have a place
finally
to go.
getting to use that, which is pretty cool. Also, some new, the guild banks are more complicated.
We've been waiting for the guild banks, and so finally we're going to have a guild bank. Apparently they're more complicated than you think that they would be, so I mean, I'll give them that. But there's, things like you need you want to have certain tabs only available to people with authenticators. We had problems with that in our WoW guild. People without authenticators, accounts got compromised and wiped out our entire guild bank. So, apparently it's complicated.
Yeah.
I'm not a developer, I'm just a journalist, so I'm like, why isn't it here already?
Yeah. The good news is, though, that BioWare did a really good job of taking stuff that worked in other MMOs and put it into Star Wars when it launched.
Are you saying that they ripped off everything from WoW?
I'm saying that they borrowed it with an eye for, a little bit. But that's okay, though, because it totally worked, and that's totally fine. And they did a great job. The game's amazing, and again, I look forward to, I know you do as well, to the continuation of the story they've already laid out. So even if you didn't like it, going to be here for a while.
I will say that if you play WoW, you'll be up to speed immediately in Star Wars.
Absolutely.
Here's a look at what's coming up on XPlay.
Next week, a follow-up that's been 25 years in the making. We'll review Kid Icarus Uprising for the Nintendo 3DS. Plus guns, dancing robots, and dubstep. Get the latest on Gearbox Software's highly anticipated Borderlands 2. Then pop some painkillers because the bullets will be flying in our preview of Max Payne 3. All that, plus the new game from one of the creators of Portal, and the return of those pesky murderous xenomorphs in Aliens Colonial Marines. Don't miss it. Plus more Xbox Live Arcade games coming this year.
They keep coming, don't they?
Yes, and we're finally going to get the review of the 3DS game that probably should have been there at the launch to help.
Games at launch, but they're getting there. We also have an awesome preview of Borderlands 2. You're not going to want to miss that. Thank you so much for watching XPlay.